Hey everybody, today is December 5th, and we'll be looking at December 4th MTG stocks. One kind of big spike here, but don't let it fool you too much, because we've seen this before. And then everything else is nothing too big, like, 50 cents or whatever. So let's go ahead and get a look at our first card here, which is Akron Legionnaire. He is 6 colorless, 2 white. Summon a Legionnaire. None of your non-artifact creatures may attack, except for Akron Legionnaire, and he's an 8/4. If you're wondering why this card went up from $8 to $15 ish, it's not really. It's only because it's an old card. I looked at some of the other versions of this card because it's not revised list. Because I've said this before, but the ones that are reserved list have this little asterisk here on MTG stocks, so that gives you a indicator. But the other versions of this card are like 20 cents. So this is just because it is part of this set, and that's pretty much the only reason. I said it before, but don't do it. You already missed a ship on this, and this is probably like really skewed data, so you have to be careful about this kind of stuff. But anyways, his actual ability: none of your non-artifact creatures may attack except for him. So basically, yeah. So your artifact creatures can still attack, just every other creature can't. What's actually cool about this card, though, is that for Zedru, I believe that's his name. He is the Jeskai Goat commander. This would actually be pretty good for it if you're willing to spend 8 mana to put him out, mind you. But with Zedru, you can basically put him out, and then you can gift him off to somebody, and they may have an 8/4, but now they can't attack with any of their non-artifact creatures. So it's pretty nice for that specific deck, and that's the only example where I could think this card is okay. That's about it. Yeah, just be careful about those old cards there. Let's go ahead and go to the next one here. This is this Tension Sphere. This was in the guild kits recently, semi-recently, I guess last year almost. Ugh. Whew, crazy. So the Tension Sphere is a 1 colorless, white, blue enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-land permanent, not named Detention Sphere, and all other permanents with the same name as that permanent. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their control. So basically, this is a way to get rid of an opponent's board, potentially, of tokens. So you're like, oh, you have like 30 elf tokens or something? Well, Detention Sphere, they're all gone now. Or if they have like 4/1 creature, Detention Sphere, they're all gone now. Well, at least until Detention Sphere leaves the battlefield. So, if you notice, the other thing in there that was kind of weird, but I know why they did that, was you may exile a target non-land permanent not named Detention Sphere and all of the permanents with the same name as that permanent. The reason why they didn't do that is because if you have Detention Sphere out, and then you exile Detention Sphere with Detention Sphere, then you can probably get some sort of weird infinite loop going. And so, like, you probably have to, I think you have to have 3 Detention Spheres to do that correctly. Because you'd have the Detention Sphere, the first one, and then you play this Detention Sphere, and then when you do that, the first Detention Sphere goes away. So yeah, the first Detention Sphere goes away. So there's we'll indicate that as gone away. This is going to be really weird. And then we have our third. I should really not use my middle finger for this. We have our. Let's see. How do we do this to make it? Whatever. So you have your first Detention Sphere. You have your second Detention Sphere, and then that. Oh my gosh, this is too hard with fingers. Oh my gosh. Okay. First Detention Sphere. Summon your second Detention Sphere. First Detention Sphere goes away. Then you'll summon your third Detention Sphere. And so your second one goes away. and then your first attention sphere comes back up. When it comes out, you can choose a new target for it. You choose your third one, then your second one comes back up. You choose that, and you just keep repeating it, etc., etc., etc. And then you can have some weird enter the battlefield triggers that will probably make it be like, oh well, blue blah blue. When something enters battlefield, kill everybody. That's why they did that. That was way too hard for me, apparently. I don't know why, but yeah, it's a neat card. I actually kind of like it quite a bit. For like $2 or $3, it seems not bad. Especially like in Flicker decks. Like I feel like this was really good because you can either clear out a lot of tokens, or you can clear out somebody's really big threat, and then if they bring out a new threat, you're like, well, maybe I'll just use Attention Sphere and then blink it and then choose new targets for it. So pretty cool card. I like it a lot actually. Let's go and go to our third card. So this was the reserve list card, which was, you know, we're looking at, there's like 65 and now it's 70. So on these cards, I don't really have enough knowledge on reserve list cards to indicate on what you should buy or not, because there's a whole like reserve list prices skyrocketing up in like 2017, I think 2017ish, 18ish, more 2017, and then market's been going down more. But I don't have enough knowledge on that. I'm just going to talk about the card here. So Cabal Ghoul, he has two colorless. It's kind of weird because when I first saw this, I thought he was just mono black. But like this colorless symbol is so faded in, it's crazy. But anyways, two colorless and a black. Summon a ghoul, which I wonder if they updated that text. Let's see if we can find that text real quick. Can we get being of each? Oh yeah, he's a zombie. I was like, he has to be like a skeleton or a zombie. I'm surprised he's not a skeleton of all things. But anyways, at the end of your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Cabal Ghoul for each other creature that died during the turn and was not regenerated. And he's a 1/1. So this actually, for a sacrifice deck, this isn't bad. If you get something like, I mean, I go with like Bloodbraid or something like that. But if you have a way to do like infinite combo with any of the like Gravecrawler is a great example. If you Gravecrawler, you have Cabal Ghoul, and you have Gravecrawler and Phyrexian Altar. Have Gravecrawler out, sacrifice him with Phyrexian Altar, get a black mana, goes to your graveyard. Since Cabal Ghoul is a zombie, you can bring back Gravecrawler from your graveyard for that 1 mana. Do that forever. Cabal Ghoul is now a whatever you want to pay, or whatever every many times you sacrifice that Gravecrawler. So it's pretty neat. It's definitely not worth it, the $75, mind you, but it's a neat card. I like it. I like the old artwork, even though it looks kind of goofy. He does look kind of goofy, but that's fine. That's what you get on those old cards. So on that note, we're gonna go to our commander of the night, which is Ruric Thar. Ruric Thar, the Unbowed. Probably Unbowed. That makes a lot more sense. So he's 4 colorless, red, green. Legendary creature, Ogre Warrior. He has Vigilance Reach, so the reach is pretty nice. He attacks each combat of Fable. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, Ruric Thar does 6 damage to that player. So this can really shut down like blue decks or something if you can get him out. No, it doesn't get countered or something like that, but especially people that like to do infinite combos potentially, this could potentially really hurt them, depending on what kind of deck they have. The reason why I bring this card up is because I was in part of the Secret Santa on the EDH Reddit thing, and this crazy guy sent me this amazing deck box, and it opens up from the bottom here, the lock, and then is a Ruric Thar deck. So thank you for that, because that was amazing. But I want to kind of showcase him because he's an interesting card in general. I mean, it's just like, because he does hurt you quite a bit too, so you're gonna probably want to be a little bit more creature based. Or, which was kind of interesting, is that in this deck, I think there's about 33 creatures. I was expecting there to be like 60 creatures, but it's kind of nice because that makes your Ruric Thar summon a little bit more, I'd say, strategic. So it's like, you don't want to just be like Ruric Thar, don't cast spells anymore, basically. But with this method, it's kind of like you can build up your you can build up pretty quick, or you can build your board up to be very threatening with other things like enchantments or mana ramp in general. You usually have mana ramp anyways in rule, but it's a neat deck. But I think he's a very interesting commander, and I feel like it's nice to look at it in the sense of like he doesn't have to be out, but when you need him out, he can be very, very, very threatening. So it's pretty neat. And then for our random cards for the night, we're doing 3, and if you might be able to guess which one it is because it's a secret layer. So I probably will do these as they come out. At least for the ones that I like. If I don't care about them, I'm probably not going to review them. But so this one is right up my alley because I love Golgari and I love Dredge, and so this is great. So Golgari Thug is a 1 colorless black human warrior 1/1. When it dies, put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library and Dredge 4. So the reason why I like him is, of course, you get a creature back from your graveyard, which will be good when you have so many cards in your graveyard to pick from. And then, of course, he has Dredge 4. If you don't know what Dredge 4 is, what it does is, if you were to draw a card, you can instead forego that draw, and then mill the top 4 cards of your deck and put the card that you Dredge for into your hand instead. So, for instance, on your draw step, you have Golgari Thug in your graveyard. It has to be in your graveyard if I didn't mention that. You have Golgari Thug in your graveyard. You say, I'm going to Dredge 4 instead of draw this card. So you take Golgari Thug from your graveyard, put it in your hand, and then mill 4. Or I guess you'd mill 4, then Golgari Thug. Either way. But it basically helps you get your graveyard bigger. And for graveyard decks, it makes it even better. And it's really nice to have that kind of mechanic. Then we're going to look at Life of the Loam. Life from the Loam. 1 colorless green, sorcery. Return with 3 target lands from your graveyard to your hand, and then Dredge 3. So this card, I think this card was like $20, $24 not too long ago. I think it's dropped down significantly. Not like this specific one, but just in general. When like the one from Ultimate Masters, I believe. But the reason why this one's pretty nice is that, so in a Dredge deck especially, you'll be dredging lands. And for Life from the Loam, you basically, it's not mana ramp per se, but it allows you to bring back really good lands if you need them. But the other thing is that for 2 converted mana cost, you get a Dredge 3 from your graveyard very easily and very often. So that's another reason why Life from the Loam was, I think, used a lot. And there's like, I think it's Boragomos, where he really relies on discarding lands. So for Life from the Loam, where you can get back 3 cards, and then because he's another Gruul command. Gruul's like the thing to do, I guess. But you can basically get back 3 lands, and with Boragomos, he allows you to discard those lands for 3 damage to any target. So pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure it's Boragomos. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. But yeah, and so it's a nice card, and I love all Dredge cards. I'm a sucker for them. But anyways, the last one is Bloodghast, which is 2 black, or I guess I should say black creature vampire spirit. And it's a 2/1. He can't block. He has haste if you have 10 or if an opponent has 10 or less life. But then the really cool thing about Bloodghast and why he was worth quite a bit, I think he's dropped down in price as well. He has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Bloodghast from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, for landfall decks, it was pretty decent because you're able to get Bloodghast out pretty much every turn or so. But really, I think this shines more in sacrifice decks, just because the landfall, and it says landfall, and you're thinking, oh, landfall, I need to have a landfall deck. Nah, you don't need a landfall deck for this guy. Basically, what's great about him in sacrifice decks is that you sacrifice him off for fodder if you need to, and then next turn you bring him back super quickly with a land, don't have to pay anything. and you may not always have a land in your hand, but the good thing about it is that if you ever do play a land, it's not a completely missed draw anymore because you're at least getting a Bloodghast back. He's like kind of subtly powerful, I'd say is a word, but he's definitely seen play, and a lot of people do like him. But now the main thing to comment on here, of course, is the artwork. This is the secret layer. This one I believe is $30. And we saw the bitter blossom last time. And this one we have the artwork is kind of melding together as well. You know, you have Life from the Loan, which is kind of like in between the black and they're both black for some reason. Anyways, it's kind of like the in between these two, and it's a very interesting like kind of, unreal's not the right word, panoramic sorta, where you have them kind of staring at each other, and then you have the ravens kind of looking at them. So I think it all comes together very well. I like this art style. I like the art style pretty well. So very neat. I'm glad that they did this. I feel like Golgari Thug, like, he's pretty iconic though. I think the other one could have been Stinkweed Imp, because Stinkweed Imp is probably I don't know if it's better, but it is good still. But I think the reason why they wanted to do it this way is because I think they wanted to have like two humanoid-ish creatures kind of staring off at each other. Like you could be like, well, why didn't they do the Grave Troller for something? I don't think it would have been quite as impactful maybe in this artwork. Maybe. But anyways, I like it, but I'm definitely a Golgari player, so. Anyways, we will end off our night with one or two random cards. We'll see. We've probably been going on for a little while on this. Do our first one here. Ooh. Alright, Thought Distortion. That's not a pretty card. 4 colorless. Black sorcery. Cannot be countered, which is nice. Target opponent reveals their hand. Exile all non-creature, non-land cards from that player's hand and graveyard. Alright. So it's graveyard hate, which is okay. And you basically get rid of artifacts, enchantments, instant sorceries, etc., etc. So that's kind of nice. For is it exile? So it's kind of weird because I feel like if this was discard, it probably would have been better. I think it should have said target opponent reveals their hand, discard all non-creature, non-land cards from their hand, and then exile their graveyard. Because for like discard decks, I feel like that would have been pretty good in general, because you're like, okay, get to discard their hand or part of their hand. I get my discard triggers, and then I get the graveyard hate on top of that. And I feel like that would have been better. I don't know if that'd be too powerful. It might have been. Not sure about that. It would have been like probably not more power. It would have been too much more powerful, I don't think. But I mean, for 6 mana, it's still pretty hefty price. I'm probably glad that it's a hefty price, only because I don't want this to be awful. This is like 3 mana. But it's sort of a strong card depending on what you're playing. But I understand why this card's 5 cents, because like 6 mana is just too much, and I don't think you can really go much less with it, because I think it'd be potentially too strong at that point. Then also this artwork, that's something, right? It's like, because they call it Thought Distortion, but they're just like just pulling his, it's like almost like taffy. Anyways, let's go on to another card. Another card sounds better. All right, random card number 2. Yep, we'll do it. Oh, okay, cool. Thunderbreak Regent. He is 2 colorless, red, creature dragon. Flying. Whenever a dragon you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, he does 3 damage to that player. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, for a dragon deck, it probably has a little bit more synergy in general, but even then, what's nice about it is is that if someone tries to target him, then it does 3 damage to that player. And like for a flying 4/4 for 4, it's okay. I mean, honestly, having a flying 4/4 for 4 can be pretty helpful. And then if they're like, okay, well, I need to get rid of it for some reason, and then they have to take that extra 3 damage. I think it's pretty good. I like it. Anyways, I think we'll call that here for tonight. Hope you all enjoyed, and have a good one. I'll see you next time.